Hello! So what is this thing? So I took this out of a house from an estate near me, which is a fairly new estate, and there's a whole lot of these installed in lots of houses, and they seem to start leaking regularly. And I'm sure there are thousands of these installed all up and down the country, which are probably leaking also. So I'm going to take this thing apart and show exactly what's inside it. So if you want to do some servicing on it and maybe stop it from leaking, then you'll be able to do that. I had some idea what it was. I thought maybe it's some sort of air vent with a filter in the bottom possibly. But again, I wasn't really sure. I asked my supplier. He had no idea what it was. It says RBM on the front, inch on the back, made in Italy inside it. But that's all it says. So again, I had no idea what it was. If you do know who makes these and where you can get a replacement, maybe you could leave a little message in the comments, and that would help everybody out who's trying to figure out what this thing is and maybe get a replacement. Now I took this one out and I replaced it with a 28mm Adey Magna Clean Professional 2. And if you want to see how that went, then stick around to the end of the video. For those of you who haven't seen me before, I make videos to help you with your plumbing and your central heating. And of course, you can find a lot of those links in the description below. And of course, you can visit my website where I've categorized all my videos and you find links to all the products and the parts that I recommend. I wanted to quickly let you know that I've made a video on 10 things that you can do to your central heating system, which is going to make it more efficient and reduce your gas bill. And you can find that link in the cards above now or down in the description. But yeah, what is this thing? What does it do? It's got a nut on the bottom there. It's got this funny little red cap on, which is all gunged up and doesn't want to move. Right, so let's get it over to the workbench, take this thing apart and find out exactly what it does. So here we go. I've already loosened all the nuts, so everything is going to come apart nice and easily, so we can speed our way through this. So these are just two 28mm compression fittings, so I'm just undoing both of those so we can take a look inside. Now I'd already guessed that this was probably some sort of filter with an air vent on the top, and that proved to be exactly what it is. And the fact that there are lots of these in a local estate, it was a good opportunity to take one of these apart and find out exactly what it was, so I knew what to do with them in the future. Now taken off the two pipes, we can see straight through this device, and you can see when we look through there's some kind of a mesh in there. So I've now loosened off this large nut on the bottom here, and I can just unscrew that. Now this is a brass plug with a rubber O-ring to seal it, and like I said, it was quite tight. Now when I pull this out, we can then find that there is this cylindrical stainless steel mesh in here, and we can now see right to the top of this device, and there doesn't appear to be anything else in there. So your central heating water is going to pretty much just flow straight through this, straight through the strainer and out the other side. Now I was thinking this was going to be some sort of filter, but the holes in this mesh here are so large it's not really going to filter anything. I mean, it's got something caught in there and it seems to be like a little stone, and inside there's some more little stones. Now wondering if these are maybe something else, maybe something gets put inside it, like it's some sort of chemical you put inside, but it's certainly not going to act as a filter because those holes in the mesh are just too big and any magnetite's just going to flow straight past it. So what is this red thing? Well, this turns out just to be a plastic cap which is covering up a little sprung-loaded auto air vent. And you can see it's all gunged up with the central heating water which has been leaking out of it, and it probably had inhibitor in the system, and that's why it's all sticky and kind of gunged up. And like I said, this is just sprung loaded, so when you push it down, you're going to push the float down and let any air out. So now I'm just going to unscrew this top part here and take it off. Now this is brass again, and there's also a little rubber O-ring which will be sealing it. And now taking that bit off, we can see directly straight down through there, and it's just a big empty tube. So there's not much to be said about that. Now the automatic air vent here works exactly the same as any other auto air vent. The float inside here just rises up and down and pushes up on that central brass pin there, which opens and closes the valve to let out any air which is in your system. What's different about this little air vent is that we can push that button down on the top, which opens the valve whilst pushing the float down. If you're still a bit unsure on how auto air vents work, I'll go through it again in a bit more detail. When we fill a central heating system for the first time, the system is all full of air and we want to let that air out and fill it up full of water. So what happens is the float valve will drop down because there's obviously nothing making it float. When it drops down, that then makes the little pin or little valve drop, which then lets out air out of the valve. As the water fills the system, it reaches the float valve, which then obviously makes the float valve float, so the float valve goes up, pushing up on the little pin in the middle, which closes the vent and stops any water from coming out. Now these are always fine when they're brand new, but over time they do become a little worn and they tend to start leaking. Now most auto air vents like this one has a little cap on top, so we can just screw that down, which stops any water from coming out. But this one here has this red cap on which has 2 holes in it, so even if you do this cap up tight, it's not going to stop the water from coming out if it does start leaking. I think if you did want to give this some maintenance, you could probably unscrew that top part there and then give it a good old wash off, and that might stop it from leaking. I hope you're finding my video useful so far. You can give me a bit of feedback by clicking on the thumbs up, and that will help others to find a video. You can click on that subscribe, ring the bell if you want to receive a notification. Right, now let's finish off the rest of the video. Now at the start of the video I said I'd show you where I got this device from. Now this is in a house which is on a estate where there are a whole load of these installed, and I regularly see them leaking. Now I was called to this house because the Glowworm boiler was tripping out with an F5 fault, and it actually turned out to be because of this leak. Now I have made a separate video all about this job and what was causing the boiler to trip out with an F5 overheat fault, and if you want to watch that video you'll find it in the cards above now or down in the description. But here's where that old device was, and now I've replaced it with the 28mm Magna Professional 2. I think the Adey Magna Cleans are one of the best magnetic filters on the market. And here I'm just bleeding off some air to get the system back up and running again. So that's about it then. So if you want to watch my video on 10 ways to reduce your gas bill, you can click on the video just here. And of course you can click on subscribe, you can click on the bell, give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always my toolbox friend. Bye for now, and I'll see you next time.